Wow, that's a pretty good movie. Um, so welcome to my review for Mission Impossible Fallout. Honestly, no welcome needed, but I honestly think I need to relax in this review because this is the first time I've seen this movie, so I'm on a bit of a high. So I don't want to say things that I might not that I might change in future on future viewings of this movie. But I will say this to start off the review: it is definitely a movie that I do want to see again, and that when it comes out on Blu-ray, I will watch a couple more times after. So it's a good movie, no doubt. But one thing that I was a little pre-disappointed on because I knew he wasn't in the movie is Jeremy Renner. He's not in the movie. Brent is not in the movie. Hawkeye was not in Avengers. Where the hell is this guy? Why is he not in this? Why is he in Tag? I don't know. Why? Jeremy Renner, I love you. Why have you not been in this year's biggest action movies? But let's get on to my actual thoughts about this movie. And my first thought is actually this movie ties into past movies in ways that I honestly didn't expect with the return of certain, well, not the return of certain characters, but the mention of old characters from previous movies and stuff like that. It's like small little like characters that are in this movie that tie into the previous movie. I don't know how else to put it because I'm really trying not to spoil this movie because there is actually stuff to spoil about this movie. But I love how this movie, in some ways, ties into previous movies. So, of course, the action and suspense is one of the best parts of the movie. There's no doubting that. This is something that we all expect coming into these movies. We all expect in the Mission Impossible movies for the action and the suspense to be good, and it is good. I was going in with the mindset that it was all going to be good though, because I've heard the buzz about this movie that it's just a non-stop thrill, suspense, tension-filled ride, and I didn't quite get that. So I think that the reviews for this movie are, I don't know, misleading in that way, but there are definitely some very action-packed and very entertaining scenes, some very suspenseful scenes, I will say. Three of the three that really stood out in my mind that I still remember to this point, that honestly I think top any other past scenes, maybe not the Burj Khalifa scene, but the three scenes that blew me away and that I still remember, as I said, is the Halo jump scene, the bathroom fight, and the helicopter chase. That helicopter chase is so good for a reason that I'll get in later. And many of the action scenes and the suspense scenes are suspenseful because it's not just the suspense of they need to stop this or they need to acquire this or la-di-da-di-da. It's suspenseful because there is also an emotional reason. There is more emotion. There is more. I personally had more of an emotional reaction to this movie, which is weird because I have never really had an emotional reaction to past Mission Impossible films. Mostly they've just been really action packed, really suspenseful, and they've had really great characters. This, of course, this one has all of those, but the added effect of it being pretty emotional in one specific scene, and that scene is, I can't say who's in the scene, but it is a scene where a bunch of characters are meeting up again, and it is very emotional, especially if you've seen previous films in the franchise. Holy crap. I didn't expect that going in, and I didn't expect to actually choke up and almost cry, which I did. It blew me away. I honestly, this movie blows me away on not just the action and the suspense. Sorry, I'm talking really fast, but the character interactions. This is another thing that really surprised me. It's the interactions between the characters. I thought that we were just going to get a really action-filled and suspenseful movie, which is what makes these movies good. But this time around, there was more of an emotional punch because, surprisingly, there are a lot of great character interactions. This movie has some pretty good character depth, I will say. And going back to what I sort of hinted at later with the helicopter chase, there is a very emotional reason. All this emotion just builds up and builds up and builds up, and that is what makes it suspenseful. I honestly think the movie was just building up to that one scene. It is so great, and the scene itself is great, but it's just everything leading up to it. It feels this movie. By the end of the movie, you feel like it's all been leading to this. Just the one movie, not the previous movies, but by the end of this movie, it feels like everything that has occurred in this one film was all leading to this. And it's a feeling when you're watching the movie, that's a feeling that you can't really accomplish that often. Like, not too many movies accomplish that, where the third act feels like it's all been building to this. And honestly, I kind of felt like that while I was watching the end of the movie. Alright, so I do have one negative, and it's not a flaw in the script, it's just a nitpick. The villain in the movie, I thought was predictable. Not what this villain does, but who the villain turns out to be. I thought the true identity of the villain, I honestly thought was very predictable. And the movie doesn't actually try to hide it, in my opinion, because in the script they're not actually trying to hide it. So if they aren't trying to hide it, okay, great, because I mean, that would be very cliche if they were to try and hide it and then make it this big reveal, but it's not really. I like what they do with the villain in this movie. And what I will say is that there aren't one. There isn't just one. There is more than one. And that's, honestly, like, I don't think a Mission Impossible movie has had more than one villain. No. I don't think so, but I mean, they've had lackeys and second villains, like second-hand villains, but not really yeah. Anyway, I do love this movie, but where is my ranking? Well, I gave you guys my ranking for this franchise in Rogue Nation. Obviously, Fallout wasn't on that ranking, but now that I've seen it, I don't think it's higher than 3, 4, and 5. I think it's just as good. Just my opinion. I know some might disagree with me on that, but I did enjoy this movie. But it's good for very different reasons, and each of the 3 previous ones were good for different reasons, right? But they're all just, in terms of quality, I just love them, all 4 of them equally. And how unique and rare is that, when you can say in a franchise that 4 movies in a row and I still love each of them equally? How many franchises can you actually say that about? Not that often, not that many of them. Guys, that's my Mission Impossible reviews done. I will see you in my review for the 7th, if they even make one. I don't know if they're going to. But I hope they do, because this franchise is definitely not dead. It is very much alive, and one of the best franchises that we have at the moment. Anyway, I will see you in whatever video comes up next in 2018. But if you're watching this in the playlist, I'll see you in my review for the 7th film.